I've spent the last 150 days working 12 hours a day with no breaks, no time off, no dinners, no holidays. Christmas, New Year's, I was working 12-hour shifts every single day. I feel like Dumbledore, if he had just given up on being a wizard and just became a muggle and a hobo at the same time, just became a muggle hobo Dumbledore. That is what this face is. So many of us just go through the routines and we're so tired at the end of the day that we come home and just put it all off and we take whatever can take our mind away, whether it's video games, Netflix, and yes, I am calling out those things because they are wasting your time. Binge watching YouTube is wasting your time. Netflix is wasting your time. So when I began this challenge, I thought $1 million is like 10 years in the future. It's like, something so far off that you can't even really worry about it now. You just have to get to work and hustle and just go day by day. Well, we're back with another one. It's been so long since I've made a video, and there's a good reason why. I've been secretly documenting myself on the process of making $1 million, and my goodness, is that way harder than I thought it would be. But it's also way easier than I thought it would be. But it's also impossible. But it's also so possible. So when I began this challenge, I thought $1 million is like 10 years in the future. It's like, something so far off that you can't even really worry about it now. You just have to get to work and hustle and just go day by day. But actually, it's a lot more achievable than you think if you just break it down into small increments. And you kind of let those increments lead you process by process, because once you learn how to start making money, it actually gets remarkably easier to make more and more money. Once you have one business that's doing okay, it's kind of easier to scale that business to a manageable length, and then you can kind of actually take a little step back and kind of let the processes of that business run while you focus on other things and other goals. Actually, the first thing you need to do is make sure that you're not indulging so much and make sure that you're living within your means, because once you start to save money, you actually start to give yourself that luxury of having more free time. And with that free time, you get more creative and you find more hobbies, and those hobbies lead you to more connections, and then you start to build other businesses with friends and kind of grow a network. Anyways, because we're at the beginning of this process, I just wanted to explain to you how I started. So I wanted to start as transparent and as fair as possible and document this process for you. That's why right now I kind of look like Elon Musk's Starship. I look like the after picture of Obama. When you see the before and you see the after and you see what America does to you after 8 years, that's kind of how I feel right now. I mean, this was almost impossible in the beginning. I feel like Dumbledore, if he had just given up on being a wizard and just became a muggle and a hobo at the same time, just became a muggle hobo Dumbledore. That is what this face is. Yeah, I know that it's really bad, but I don't want to scare you off from this because I kind of want you guys to be able to participate in this challenge for yourself. What I want to do is I want to show you as transparently as possible the scales of building wealth. Like the ground scale, I had no money in my bank, I had no job, absolutely nothing. And I had literally zero in my bank account. I had to actually go into credit card debt that I had to then later pay off after I found a job. So the first step is to just become neutral and actually a little bit over so that you can save money. And then the second step is to find a job that actually pays you enough to pay your time, because getting paid $10 an hour to do these online Skype English lessons, that was my first job that I was able to find. That did not work out very well. That was a total waste of time, put so much time and energy into having no return. But then I started to realize the value isn't in the money as much as it is how you use your time, how you split up your day to day. Because when you make your day hyper productive and you actually spend the time to find the good jobs instead of just picking up the apples because you're so desperate because you need money, which is how I was in the beginning, I was able to kind of elevate myself out of that bottom rung and get to the next step of the ladder, which is actually where I am now. I'm saving as much money as I possibly can. I've cut all of my spending except for the bare essentials and food, which I budget for each month, and I make sure that I don't go over that budget. The next step, I'm going to be starting to build businesses, buying rental properties, doing those kind of things that will generate more wealth and actually take more risk to me, which I'm a little concerned about because I work so hard getting the little bit that I have. I don't want to just throw it all into the stock market and, maybe something's going to tank soon. The world that we live in is so terrifying because I'm doing this in the middle of the pandemic, which makes it even more scary because I'm working so hard to get the little that I have, and then to just think about risking that all just to make a little more money. That greed, that selfishness selfishness? No, that's not what this is about. This is about building meaningful businesses. This is about generating income that I can give away to you guys generously to help you guys to live your bucket list. So that's where I am now. Actually, one really terrifying thing, more scary than investing money, because investing money, if you do it wisely and you do it right, you're not going to lose it. I'm probably going to lose some, but something that was terrifying to me was realizing that at the income I'm making, at the savings I'm having, which is the most I've ever had in my life, at this current rate, if I keep going and I keep working these 12-hour shifts every single day, it would take me 71 years to get to $1 million. That's terrifying. To know that the amount of work I'm doing every single day is so small compared to the amount of wealth that some people have, the absolute unimaginable, just billions of dollars that some people have. And I'm working every single day for 12 hours a day, and I'm working every single day for 12 hours a day with no breaks, no time off, no days off, no rest, no holidays. I worked on New Year's Day, I worked on Christmas Day. That's what I'm doing here to try to get to that level of $1 million. But this job, this salaried job, is not enough. It's not going to do it. So it takes creativity, it takes risk, it takes, planning, preparation, and it takes more than just a job to get where you want to get, at least where I want to get. City Mustard Fashion, we're going to be dropping this month. Not this one. This one is a prototype. I'm going to be having embroidery on the top, and I'm going to have the logo and everything more beautiful. If you want to get in on that, now is a good time. But yeah, I just wanted to let you know I am there. I didn't give up. I am hustling. I am building. I am creating. I'm doing everything that I can do to make this bucket list adventure dream possible, where I go and I visit you guys and I take you guys out to do the things on your bucket list. And you guys can do that too. You can see the process. The first step of that process for me was just absolute groundbreaking hustle. I've spent the last 150 days working 12 hours a day with no breaks, no time off, no dinners, no holidays. Christmas, New Year's, I was working 12-hour shifts every single day. And that's just to build up that bottom level of wealth so that I can start investing it in building businesses, and I can have the freedom and the luxury of having time to be able to spend on other projects that will help generate wealth for me. Do I recommend this? Well, if you're into challenging yourself and pushing yourself, yes. But something that I noticed in the very beginning of this challenge, the first month was actually easy. I'd wake up, go to work, come home, sleep. Wake up, go to work, come home, sleep. The harder part wasn't really the work. Showing up for work was showing up for work, and I actually enjoy the work that I'm doing. The harder part happened when about a month in, I got a little bit sick, and that just destroyed me. That little bit of sick ended up turning into the worst few weeks of my life. I ended up being almost unable to move, but I still kept pushing myself as hard as I possibly could. And then I started realizing something. I started gaining a lot of weight because I wasn't able to push myself to go to the gym anymore. I started losing my desire to work on YouTube, to work on art, to work on anything. I would just come home and just go to sleep, or I'd find myself binge watching Netflix or YouTube or whatever I could do to take my mind off of just the fact that I had no life. And so the available time I had for myself, I had no energy for myself. So instead of going to the gym, I was staying at home. I was ordering almost every day. I would have cheesecake from Starbucks because that was one of the small comforts that I had in my life. So I gained more than 10 pounds in 1 month. And I realized at that moment that I fell into a hole that so many of us fall into. So many of us just go through the routines, and we're so tired at the end of the day that we come home and just put it all off, and we take whatever can take our mind away, whether it's video games, Netflix, and yes, I am calling out those things because they are wasting your time. Binge watching YouTube is wasting your time. Netflix is wasting your time. Video games hours on end. If it's not paying you to do it, then spending huge amounts of your free time on it is a waste of your time. And to dig myself out of that hole, to lose the weight that I had put on, to do all those things. Once I had the weight, it was almost impossible to motivate myself to go to the gym because I had so much more pressure from so many different sources. And the only way I could find the motivation to kind of crawl out of that hole was to look at my life from other perspectives. I had to see the end goals that I wanted to achieve, but I had to kind of get out of myself in order to realize that. It took like a waking up experience of me being sick for almost 2 weeks for me to finally realize, no, that is not what I'm gonna do. I had to pull myself out, no matter how tired, no matter how sick I was, and start focusing myself on building and creating again and getting back into the real meaning of life, which is ultimately what I'm sharing with you in this channel. You'll be able to see the valuable lessons that I gain. You'll be able to learn from my mistakes and my challenges. You'll be able to figure out how you can start building yourself up and building those steps of wealth that will liberate you and free you from the rat race, which many of us are familiar with. We need to get our lives in a place where we actually do what matters. In order to do that, the first lesson I learned is ground hustle. You just got to get on the ground and you just got to start going to work. But do not lose yourself in that process. Do not overwork yourself like I did, because then you'll end up pushing yourself down into a hole. You'll be doing all the work, digging, but you're standing in the hole. You need to dig out of the hole. You need to dig the foundations of what you're building, but you can't put yourself in the hole and bury yourself with your work. That is something that I learned after 150, well now it's 165 days of 12-hour work shifts. I don't want these videos to be super long because I want you to get off YouTube and actually start working on your goals like I do. We're gonna peace out of here real quick, guys. Hustle, hustle, hustle. Do what matters, do what's meaningful, and don't forget yourself.